made me think on that. Do they consider then if you have other debt that you're paying for, would they consider any of that
Not
in
normally.
that follow-on?
No, not normally.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah. And then the other thing that we hear so much about is that I should get myself into as much debt as possible so that I will look poor to the financial aid office. And nowhere in any form is there room to write your car payment, your second home payment, your credit card debt, those kinds of things. So the advice we give to families, if we can get them earlier before the senior year, it's great, because we'll always say, please get your financial house in order, because college is one of the biggest expenses, right? In some cases it can be more than a home that the family may undertake, and it's very important to have as little debt, consumer debt, as possible. So no, it doesn't.
So that you can take on the burden, and then it doesn't have to break the house, or break the bank.
That's right. Right.
So one of the other myths we talked about then was an idea that saving ahead of time, though, would also affect your financial aid. Can you talk about that?
Right.
Some too, very similar.
Absolutely. So saving actually gives families so much more flexibility with going to college. In the formula that determines the family contribution, a parent's income is, I don't like the word assessed, but that's the best word I can use, is assessed at between 22 to 44% being available for college. Okay, so that's the income portion. The asset portion, somewhere between 3 and 6%, is considered to be available for college. So if a family has $150,000 in the bank, a very small percentage of that is actually looked at as being available for college.
Really?
So saving, when the bill is due, will give the family so much more. If they have that cushion in the bank, and this isn't home equity and this isn't a retirement plan, this is just liquid assets.
Liquid savings.
Yeah. Having that money in the bank gives them so much more flexibility when the bill is due, because they may not have to rely as heavily on loans, or if the college of the child's choice doesn't give them exactly the aid package that they were thinking they were going to get, they might still be able to meet some of those costs with their own savings and not have to take on the debt. So,
right, and they'll probably be able to sleep a little bit better at night too, knowing that if anything happened, that they could keep up their payments.
That's right.
Wow, yeah. There's a lot of things to be thinking about when it comes, I think, to saving and not falling into the trap of, let me amass all of my debt, hoping that it's going to have an impact when really it's not going to do anything except make it harder for you to be paying the bills.
That's right.
So there are a couple of particular circumstances, too, that I feel like are more and more relevant in terms of divorce and job loss. Can we talk first in terms of what if the student's parents are divorced?
Sure. So the rule is, if the parents are divorced, the student would report only the income from the parent with whom he or she, we usually go with residency, with whom he or she lives with more than half of the time. So whichever parent that is the parent's income information that is reported on the FAFSA. Where it gets a little bit sticky is if there's been a remarriage. So let's say the student lives with mom, but mom has remarried. The stepfather's income is also included. Regardless of whether or not there's an agreement in place, we hear this a lot, there's an agreement in place that he wouldn't be responsible for the child's college education. What the federal form is really trying to do is assess the family's overall financial strength and not necessarily who's paying for college. So the step's income information is also included. What gets a little bit sticky.
Right.
And where it gets even stickier is if the student is filling out the profile, which is the form that goes a little bit into more depth. The profile will be looking at parent with whom the student resides, step, and then there's called an ex-spouse form. So the ex also fills out a supplement, and if he or she is remarried, that spouse's income is in there too, and that all goes back to the college for what they do with that is determine what kind of grant and scholarship institutional money the student might be eligible for. So
in general, though, it is normally both parents?
It is,
plus the newly married parent if it's the main resident?
For the federal form, it's only the parent and the remarried, or the step if the primary parent has remarried, or the biological.
But then the profile pulls in
everybody,
both,
pretty much.
Both parents, got it, original parents. And now, what if one or even both of the student's parents have lost a job recently?
That's where you would really need to take some initiative and contact the college. Because it isn't reflective, 2009 won't be reflective of 2010, call the colleges. And this is handled at the college level. This isn't something that's handled on the federal form. Contact the colleges, and if there are 5 colleges, make 5 phone calls.
Right.
Explain the circumstances. Usually the school will ask for documentation of the job loss, and an estimate of 2010 income, and that's how they will base the financial aid package.
And how early should they be actually contacting them?
I would think the sooner the better. So if you're filing your application in January and you know this has already happened, as soon as you're aware of the circumstances, start building a relationship with somebody in the aid office. Normally students are assigned to one particular counselor, and that's the person that you'll be telling your story to for 4 years. And it's great that way because there are people behind the desks, and they want to help students as much as they absolutely possibly can. So find out who the counselor is, talk to that person.
So right after you've applied to the school and you probably already filled out your FAFSA, call the college and let them know of the change in circumstances.
That's right.
And then that way what it sounds like is that then you'll preempt a financial aid package that won't work for you.
That's right.
And then that way they're only doing it once.
Right.
And they may be able to do a little bit more for you given your circumstances. And then last piece in terms of the self-employed.
Okay. So the
how does that work?
It
For the parents, not the students.
It's not as, so it is income driven. Some schools will ask to see the business tax returns for their own institutional funds because they are very good at reading cash flow. So they may want, even if the business is reporting a very low income, they may look to see what sort of money has come through the business. So self-employed people are absolutely not excluded from any sort of federal income, federal grants or scholarships or student loans or parent loans. The school may dig a little more deeply, though, for self-employed parents if they're looking at giving out their own funds. And that's when the tax returns might be required.
Okay. Yeah. Great. Wow. Last quick thing, and we just
Sure.
have like 1 more minute.
Oh,
College
wow.
savings plans, when should they be starting?
Before the kid's born.
Okay. Immediately?
Do it now. Do it now. Do it early. Do it often. No, college savings is the cushion. It's the peace of mind at night. You can sleep, knowing I have a 3-year-old. By the time he gets to college, I'm going to be retired. I don't want to be paying plus loans back till I'm 90, so we're saving a little bit every month, and a little bit is better than
Goes
nothing.
a long way.
Yes, it does.
Awesome. Wow. Well, this was such an informative program, Kathy. Thank you so much. I am sure that all of our viewers will want to watch this the first time. They'll want to go back and watch it again because it was just so full.
There's a lot of information.
Jam-packed with information. And at the end of our show, we'll be providing contact information for MEFA, the Massachusetts Educational Financing Authority, because I feel like it's so relevant that people get going on this and get themselves educated now. And there are a few resources, too, that they'll be able to access in terms of upcoming programs, right? In January, you have a few, as well as later on in April, I believe it was, right?
Yep. So what's happening is MEFA does college financing seminars across the state. If you go to MEFA.org, you'll be able to see what high school we're coming to a high school near you.
Great.
It's generally December, January that we do these. We go through the process. In April, we do something called After the Acceptance, where we invite the parents back. We ask you to bring the award letters, and we talk through the different components of that. For anybody that needs help filling out their free application for federal student aid, on January 31st at 26 sites across the state, there will be something called FAFSA Day. So aid administrators will sit down with families and help them actually fill out the forms. It's all free of charge.
Awesome.
It's great resources.
Let's have our
use
viewers
it.
go there. Great. Well, thank you so
Thank you
much.
very much.
Those are so important for us to know. And today we provided you insights about College Financing 101. Stay tuned for more strategies, tips, and tools on thriving in this economy from our show, Money on Your Mind, including more saving strategies, managing your debt, managing your credit cards, buying a home, and planning for your retirement. You will be able to use the tips you learn immediately. If you have any of your own tips, ideas, questions, email us at moneytv@ownyourmoney.com. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Belinda Fuchs, financial coach, CPA, president of ownyourmoney.com, and host of Money on Your Mind. We look forward to bringing you more interesting and unique ways of making more, saving more, and stressing less about the money on your mind.